1 hour, 27 seconds. Hey, great.
Why
That was a good hour there. I mean, where should we start on the notables? We got a couple of bangers here.
Well, 50 basis points, right? I think that's the biggest news, right?
Rome.
And maybe they're trying to catch up the Bank of Canada, because Bank
You
of
think?
Canada, I don't know, like 50 basis points, it seems like it's a rather steep cut. I'm surprised it didn't test the water with 25 to see what happens, but political pressure probably.
Yeah, the thing, and Keith Thicker mentioned this on Looney Hour as well, a friend of the show, who we should probably get back on maybe in November. Oh, I guess not. I'm having a kid. I got to figure out my schedule for that stretch. But mentioned this on Looney Hour, and we talked about it last week too. We've talked about it in a number of different group chats that you and I are both in. You know how many times the Federal Reserve has cut 50 points when there wasn't either a known crisis or a crisis on the horizon?
Zero
Zero.
You know, when the last time they did a 50
people
basis
on audio,
point
zero
cut?
times. Yeah, I don't know when.
2008.
Was it, or was it 20? When did they cut? What did they cut in 19? When the repo market went sideways in November, I think. Wasn't that a 50-point cut, or was it a 25-point cut?
The information I have, the last one was done in 2008.
I believe it. Yeah.
So that's
where's the crisis, right? The currency market for the States is the big fish in the pond. So devaluing the currency has impacts on global markets. Maybe they're doing that to help protect another, G7, G20, whatever market from collapsing and starting a domino effect. Who knows? No one knows. The problem is all the 50 IQ reporters in that fucking conference room with Powell just keep asking the same question. What data are you looking at? And why did you only, and are you going to cut 50 again in November? And do you think this is going to influence the election? Like, just brain dead, man. Even if you're one of these people who's like, the media doesn't just lie about everything, you have to watch those press conferences and just think that these people are incompetent. Everyone's short of probably like Tim Rose, right? Who actually does a little bit of writing, it seems like, on Fed policy for the Wall Street Journal. But the rest of them, man, oh my God, just brutal. So what's going to happen now to inflation? They're basically saying, if you're on Main Street, sorry, TTYL, good luck.
Well,
good luck, have fun. Prices are going to go back up. Everything's going to start to roll again.
They're saying it's 2.5% the last number. So, right, like it's not going to be instant. Whatever the reaction is going to be, it will take a year or two before it's finally captured in whatever statistic they want to manipulate. So at that point, it's long. We can't do anything. Gas is up quite a bit, and whatever. If you look at what's happened, this is not going to be the only one, because I did some research. They did 11 consecutive rate hikes prior to this. 11 consecutive rate hikes. And so it's not like they're going to do a simple 50 basis point cut, maybe 125 after that. It's going to be a series of them. Maybe not 11. Maybe it will be more. Who the heck knows? But it's going to be a chunk that's going to be done until they get to the ground floor. And then when they realize, we got to start raising again. But credit is now cheaper now than it was a week ago. So guys carrying like credit cards, auto loans, line of credit, shit like that, they're paying slightly less than they were doing before. So it's a little bit easier to stomach. What's going to be the end result of this? Who the hell knows? It's all fake, right? Like, it's just totally fake, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, every time I see this, and then I just am so numb to it, and it impacts my life, because my savings, my wages, everything everything gets impacted, but it's so fucking fake.
Bank is going to start calling you pretty soon and asking you to lock in 5 years at the current rate. I'll tell you that, because this is the indicator that the easing cycle has really started. We're already a few cuts in over here, but there's now there's no end in sight to the relief you'll get through interest rate lowering.
You know what I didn't check? What's the yen doing? Because that's always a big topic of discussion.
The yen is one to look at, and the other one I've been looking at is the DXY, dollar index.
You're a big fan of that.
Well, because it's like a pretty good indicator about what's going to happen next with Bitcoin, right? Like, under normal circumstances, dollar weakness means Bitcoin strength, means equity strength, means commodity strength. So, I think if you subscribe to that train of thought or that school of thought, then it is something to keep an eye on, I think, and like it's kind of trending. It's been trending down the last little while. So,
How's the Singapore dollar doing?
they don't have an index, unfortunately. Hard to say. They're not included in any major currency baskets over there.
How do we get them involved? I
don't know.
Right? Certainly they're underrated in my opinion. And something which is not underrated in what's going on is, I guess, in a lot of parts of the world, because we're on the brink of World War III, right? Look what's going on.
Yeah.
Fucking pagers, man. Pagers are fucking exploding. Who the fuck uses pagers these days? Doctors, I think, are the last group of individuals that use pagers, I think.
Yeah.
Aside from that, who the fuck would use this? I mean, like, it's like CB radio territory, if you ask me. Like, I'm just flabbergasted. Like, let's break this down. I can't get over this for whatever reason. Joey, how can anybody carry a fucking pager these days? What are you gonna? Oh, somebody paged me. Now I have to go to the fucking toll booth and fucking make a call. Everybody has a fucking cell phone. You're gonna pick up your cell phone and call. Why don't you just call the cell phone directly instead of fucking paging the pager?
We talked about this with Mark because we said the reason they do this is because there's less tracking. It's lower fi tech, right? Great, fine. I guess that's a reasonable thing to think. Do you know the story of how they were able to pull this off? They set up a shell company, and the shell company manufactured pagers and sent them to these like Hamasniks or whatever all over the region. Over the course of like a year, Len, these guys have been wearing these pagers. And I think that it's weird to me that they like, do none of these guys like go to the airport or like, go through x-ray machines or anything like that? You would imagine a terrorist would be like doing these sorts of things, but I guess they didn't for a while. And so these pagers with all this basically gunpowder inside, they were never discovered to have this gunpowder inside because they never went through any security checkpoints, at least not the ones that they needed to go through to catch this stuff. And then they hit them with the message bombs, right? They just like sent them a bunch of texts, the battery heats up, and then boom. Crazy, man. That is. Now, the other question I have for you, do you think the United States could ever pull off something that like tightly targeted and tightly executed? Me neither.
No.
I don't think so either.
I mean, how would, like, you're gonna go? It would have to be a different device. You'd have to, instead of using pagers, it'd be some sort of Nokia or something. You have to move up in terms of the tech, and maybe then you could probably pull it off. But nobody's going to use a Nokia these days. You get fucking laughed at. You get laughed at using a fucking pager.
I don't know. That's not necessarily true.
Like, they're
like trendy, Len. The old tech is trendy now. Don't you have a rotary phone in your house? It's a discussion piece.
Well, it's right next to my 8-track player. So yeah, people come in. The hell is that? Let me just tell you about dancing at the disco, buddy. Listen to this.
You want your music to have texture? Let me show you what that sounds like.
But like this thing, like it's getting close to like World War III.
Yeah,
is Hezbollah now? They're launching these fucking missiles back, these rockets at Israel, and they call it like an open-ended battle. Like this is just, it's open warfare over there. I like studying World War I or World War II. World War I, it's kind of, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it was a domino effect, right? There was tensions already to begin with, and then that guy killed the prince, and then Archduke Ferdinand, and then the blank check from Germany, and the alliance between Russia and France, and all this shit just spiraled out of control. But now you kind of have the same thing. Iran is involved heavily with Hezbollah, and with Iran now they're part of BRICS, and you would imagine China is somehow involved. Then you can't forget about what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. That's still in the background, and Ukraine is now sending shit over deeper into Russian territory, and Russia wants to annex part or all of Ukraine. I don't know what the fuck they want to do. Like, it's just a disaster. And you have this guy at the helm of the United States that, what Donald Trump says, he's
what guy? It's his wife. It's his wife.
His wife. She's leading all these meetings. I don't know, man. Like, it just, you see this, and this election is going to be an absolute disaster if one wins. I don't want to say who, but right, like you don't want somebody that's going to be a pushover You want somebody there that's going to be able to just calm things out and
Yeah.
iron out all these fucking problems. But whatever.
I'm
She
just,
got the answers. She got
we're
the
just along
questions.
for we're just along for the ride, right? You and me. It's like, whatever. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just happy to have my sat stack, and the memes are
Yeah.
great. The memes have been great. You know, it's good. Trump tweeting out like all the Haitian cat AI pics. Like that's pretty funny. I've enjoyed those.
But see, even like an Iranian ambassador was hurt in Lebanon. A Hezbollah MP, there's the son of the Hezbollah, or one of the Hezbollah MPs was killed in this pager attack.
Brutal.
Like you're now escalating it. You're getting into people that are in the bureaucracy or elected officials.
Yeah.
That are, and then at that point, because now you're getting closer to the higher ups or people that are able to manipulate or change laws, or then it becomes okay. Things could really escalate from here. And what happens? What's the end game? I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be just a global conflict, but I'm not sure how to get around this. And you got fucking Syria is still a mess, and they're trying to get out of Iraq. United States is trying to get out of Iraq, and that's going to be like a fucking vacuum. Then you have the Taliban, one of the fucking most armed militaries in the world after that bug out. So they could do whatever the fuck they want. They could control all the Middle East with what they have.
Yeah.
What a fucking disaster this is. Right? Like, I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. UK, brother. Let's talk about the UK.
Sure. Which story?
It's a good one because teachers. It's a good acceleration story. I think. Why is that a good acceleration story? Because teachers over there looks like they're going to be allowed to work from home as a way to boost recruitment.
I love it.
So they're going to be potentially being offered opportunities, potentially, I say, to work from home during free periods. And those are periods where they're going to do prep work for class or markings or other
prep
stuff.
Periods, by the way, in schools, completely fake. I've been in schools in Ontario as a teaching student, and teachers just talk shit about the kids during the prep period. There's no prep being done. That's a fact.
It looks like they might be doing this so they're going to be doing block times for this prep. They're trying to at least try that. And then if that's possible, then potentially allowing these teachers to do that stuff from home. And, let's go back to COVID times. How good was it when teaching was being done remotely? I know they're not talking about teaching here per se, the prep time, but how it's just, it's a step away from then actual class being conducted remotely. And I can say firsthand, my daughter was home doing grade 2 and 3 at the time when they locked things down. It was difficult to get much out in terms of the whole experience. I understand why they did. I'm not trying to discuss. I'm just trying to tell you what's the end result. It's when you're dealing with other kids, you get more out of it, I think, because you're in an environment with them, social, you build on those tools. Plus, there's illnesses that go around, and I think you build some immunity when you interact with people that are sick to a degree. You don't want to get something that's going to fuck you up permanently, but getting common cold, I think there's some benefit to that for the most part if you're young, because then you can build immunity that as you get older. So like, man, these teachers over there, potentially they're going to be working from home. Maybe opportunities for us to go work over there, Joy. Like maybe right? Let's go. We can work from home and do the prep time, the show at the same time.
Get a visa.
Fuck. Let's do
kids
it, man.
kids really getting fucked by this, which is terrible. Like that's the saddest thing, right? Because you just can't. And like, look, I went to teachers college. I did my placement or whatever. I'm not an educational professional, but you don't need to be to understand that there is no good way to teach from home or to have teachers working from home or doing prep, whatever this is from home. There's no good way because schools are a community environment, and they're one of the very few community environments that really need two things. They need quality people, and they need quality people attending the community events, attending classes in the hallways, at the gyms, at the seminars, at the, whatever, right? At the assemblies. I don't know. I don't know why they want to increase, I don't know why they want to headhunt this way. Because what kind of people are you going to get applying for jobs? Arguably, maybe the most important job in modern economies, the one that needs the most attention, the highest quality people at this point, anyway. You want to attract people who think it's a good idea to work at home? You should be raising the salary of teachers, making it difficult to become a teacher, and then seeing what kind of people you get and watching, the dead weight fall off the vine little by little. And, over time you get a better product. The other story from the UK, I don't know if you have this one either. Keir Starmer wants to start closing bars earlier because he thinks people drink too much. No beer, Keir. No beer, 2-tier Keir. Unbelievable. Can you believe that? This guy is like the least popular man on the planet at this point. Just he can't get it right.
Well, those pubs, they're gonna fucking get. I don't know, man. He got in, and it was recent, that election, right? It was this year.
It was like 2 months ago.
Yeah. What happened to the guy that he replaced, the Sunak guy? Did he end up?
He's working
Rishi
for
Sunak.
he's working for the
Is he now with the
WEF. He's working for the WEF.
Right. We both came to the same conclusion. So whatever. That's the graveyard for a lot of these politicians.
God.
Isn't
him and Jacinda Ardern probably there too?
I was gonna say here, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Yeah. So
we are on the same wavelength tonight. No. That's great.
Yeah. Well, there was talk about her in one of our chats there's a spiral. Whatever.
Great.
Not going in the right direction. And Canada seems to be heading in the right direction with respect to inflation, though. And they're saying inflation is now down to 2%.
It's not really, though. It's not really. It's just because oil is lower. Like shelter is still up. Food is up. Everything is up.
Well, there's other. Okay, the price of homes.
Yeah.
Have come down, though, and that's just a reflection because rates are high, the economy.
Sure.
So there's that. You're right. Gasoline is stagnant in terms of the price, and that's directly from the price of oil. So yeah, but this is political points are being scored here because 2% this month, and the previous month, if I recall correctly, was somewhere between 2 and 2.5%. So, and it's been a bunch of months like that. And if you listen to the House of Commons, they always talk about it's been now a bunch of consecutive months within the target range of the Bank of Canada that they have achieved. And now they've lowered rates faster and more aggressively than any other country in the G7. And
very good sign.
And this is it. And you know what? Bank of Canada, the governor, Tiff Macklem, came out saying that they're also going to be trying to find out how inflation will be impacted by AI. They're doing a study into this too. So they targeted and they tackled inflation. Now they're going to try to figure out how AI is going to impact it moving forward.
Who better than Tiff and the boys to work on that initiative?
I have nothing to say about that. Like, I found it to be really interesting that they're looking at the 2%, though. The reality is, right, the rate of change has slowed down tremendously. And it could be to your point. It could be because oil has been stagnant for a long time. But it is true. Like nothing in terms of the price hasn't really changed all that much in the past few months. Prices are still high, though, right? Let's be honest. Prices are never going to revert back to insert year here because it's not going to go back to that. It's just going to be high, and tomorrow it's going to be slightly higher and slightly higher. So the Bank of Canada are doing high fives. People in power are doing high fives. Is this going to result in anything politically, though? I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be a bump in the Liberal Party saying, look, we achieved 2%.
Who would they even pass that message to, Len? Like
they're sending it to everybody.
Yeah, but who would listen to
inflation?
It? Who would listen to it at this point? It's too late.
And I've talked about this at length before. When the economy is not doing all that good, when prices get higher, the people that get punished first are the ones in power. I mean, okay, I guess everybody gets punished first, but what they do, what's the recourse of that? They tend to vote out those that are in power, so that Liberals are in a huge uphill battle just because prices are high and are going to stay high. There's nothing they can do to reverse that. It's just the reality. So
yeah.
And then we had the by-election. Not two by-elections just last week.
Rough results for the governing party.
And to be honest, I don't think it's all that good for the NDP because they didn't run away with it in Manitoba. I think that's where one of the by-elections were. It was much closer than what it should have been. And I think that they might have had a chance to win the riding in Quebec if they had a leader that could resonate with the folks over there. They needed a federalist party to be the alternative. They didn't have one. Conservatives never win.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how Quebec, so that's how NDP won quite a bit of seats in Quebec in 2011, is because they were the only federalist party standing that people would want to vote for. Conservatives never get voted in over there. Liberals, if they are torpedoed, who's left? The NDP. And even now, man, oh man, Jack Mead's not even going to win his riding according to the latest polls.
You just said that. Yeah, that is insane to me. I would love to know the number of times a federal party leader has lost his own or her own riding.
2011 is the last time I remember it, when Ignatieff didn't win his riding of Etobicoke Lakeshore. And before that, I think it was Kim Campbell.
Maybe. Yeah. In the 90s.
I'm talking about like a major party.
Yeah. Well, I only care about the three big ones, right?
Yeah. So I think those are the last two, but I could be proven wrong. Yeah. And
it's not good. The Liberals, I was watching Jean-Yves Duclos and which other minister was on with Capellos last few days. They're doubling down on the messaging. Like, they just need the problem is that Canadians don't know what we've done for them. Like, I'm not sure even if you think that, I'm not sure that's what I'd be saying in these media appearances at this point.
What's going to happen moving forward? Honestly,
You've long been in the camp. There's not going to be an election anytime soon.
I don't think there's going to be one this year, because if the Bloc want one, which they may, and the Conservatives want one, you still need to have the NDP get on board. I don't think the NDP want to have one.
Well, that story came out today that they only have $240,000, something like that, in cash.
Oh, see, I didn't realize. I've always questioned about their finances.
That's what the story alleges. There's a couple of documents to go along with it, but like $240,000, Len, that might not even be enough to run a fucking like student union election at a university, let alone yeah.
2 elections ago, I think it was they mortgaged their property in Toronto to run that election. So they're not going to get corporate
lows, or what? Is that the rates were at historic lows, or what?
They were low, but still, that goes to show you that to borrow. They're not going to be relying on corporate. Even corporate's still limited by how much they could do, but corporate is not going to be out there to support NDP en masse.
Yeah.
So you're going to be relying on grassroots individuals, unions, and how much are they going to get? And
people have no money. NDP supporters are poor.
So they are relying on the voter subsidy. So the Liberal Party too is getting a lot of that too. But the Conservatives, they have cornered a market on that grassroots, just getting $10 from this person, $20. They fucking got millions of dollars. It's a war chest. They're going to unload all these attack ads next election. It's going to be disgusting.
Yeah,
worked so well in 2011. Let's see.
They're already starting. Polyev is spending big money on unskippable YouTube ads. I can skip almost every ad I get, but Polyev is paying the big bucks to make sure I got to watch the full 30 seconds. Listen, come on. Let me go through. I don't want to watch this. Come on. Let me get to my video.
Maybe NDP should go all in on Hut 8 or something and try to fucking roll the dice.
Why don't they go leverage long on Binance coin or something? Cup and handle. See what happens.
Would it be against their MO if they got into Trump coin?
I think their constituents might have something to say about that. But
what if anyways, Bank of Canada, you hear that they're not going to move forward with a CBDC?
That's what they say. That's what they say.
So
yeah.
At least they say they put it on pause for now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be forever. They'll come back to it in the future because they already sunk in millions of dollars in several years into the project. And that, not that money really means anything to them if they're the ones printing it, but I'm sure it does in the end. So I'm very certain they learned a lot from all this so far. And they say that they have undertaken significant research towards understanding the implications of a retail central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So right now they're just put on a hold. I suspect we're not going to hear about this for at least one election cycle, maybe 2. And then at that point we'll hear about it moving forward. Also, as other central banks around the world start releasing it, I think the Bank of Canada will also do the same. It's good that they're waiting. You don't want to be at the forefront of this. You'd rather let all these bugs work out.
Agreed.
And I like this approach. Not to say I'd like to see a CBDC come into reality, but I'd rather play it safe. The thing kind of works as it is. Let's not fuck around with it anymore.
Could I convince you that the actual CBDC is going to come on the back of one of these online identity bills?
I never thought of that.
But those are coming soon, right? Next year, probably latest.
But Polya's been dead set against these CBDCs. Do you think he'll flip on that?
I don't think he's
flipped on Bitcoin.
I don't think he's dead set against anything, honestly. I think they're all headed the same direction, right? The wind is blowing that way. You saw Telegram today. They're going to be giving up information to governments from now on anytime someone asks. CBDC is the next logical step in the panopticon. So I expect maybe they won't come from a central bank initiative or whatever, but some of these bills for identity, for example, will be perfect for starting your online identity app requirement. You're going to have to use your government app everywhere you go. And by the way, I can think of an app that was close to being able to pilot this kind of stuff, about 4 years ago. It's directionally, you cannot miss these signposts, man. You cannot miss them. They're everywhere.
There's a link I shared with you in a chat. Open it, because this is another interesting thing that I had no idea this was.
You want me to share this?
Yeah, because this is from the international.gc.ca. It is a link that shows that Canada is giving foreign aid to a lot of countries out there. And one of the countries, I don't know how, but China even gets foreign aid from Canada. China got last year $13 million in total from foreign aid. So you just type Control F and then type in China. I think it's a second China. So click again one more time.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. This is the list of countries that get, on the left side, it's in millions of dollars, that get money from Canada. So Afghanistan's getting 130 million almost.
Nuts. Look at this.
Singapore's on the list, by the way.
And we're paying for all India's kids to come here and giving them another 110 million.
Singapore's on the list. Scroll down.
Yeah, there they are. Yeah.
So China, second largest economy in the world.
Insane.
And they're getting, I don't know how this aid is, like what fashion, but if anything, I thought it would be the opposite, where they would have sent us $130 million worth of aid. But I just learned that this is from 2023, my mistakes, from last year information. And yeah, man, I'm just flabbergasted at the fact that there's a lot of aid being sent out to India, China of all people getting aid.
Who decides where aid money goes?
I don't know.
I need to know what the rubric is. You could probably file an information request for that, but the rubric for deciding fund money obviously needs to be reviewed. Let's say if China's getting 110 million. The other thing too is even if you think China needs help, they're clearly a country with human rights issues, right? Clearly a country who's been on the offensive in terms of influencing elections over here. They're a country who's on the offensive in terms of cornering supply chains, cornering supply lines, cornering all this stuff. Do we really need why send them any money at all? Singapore's
fucking rich, man.
Yeah. It's
that
hub,
place.
Right? Yeah.
I gotta fucking Singapore get money from this.
This is it's almost like we're at this point now where
North Korea is on the list. North Korea.
Yeah. I'm not saying this is a huge scandal, but in quote unquote normal times, this would have gotten attention, right? In quote unquote normal times, you would have had bigger news stories about, for example, I think it was Table Salt or Everybody Been Rinsed, one of those accounts on Twitter, posting recently the number of dollars that immigrants to the country get, asylum seekers to the country get. It's like $70,000 or $80,000 a year, basically. Huge amount of money. That would have got more attention. But the missteps and unbelievable resource allocation stories are so great in number now that no one can focus on any one thing. You're the zone is flooded with stuff that's it's bewildering. Maybe not, maybe it's not enraging people, but it should be bewildering to people. It's just that there's so much. No one can spend more than a day or 20 or 2 hours or 15 minutes or whatever on any one story, and they just move on to something else. I'm guilty of that too, by the way. Like my friends send me stuff all the time. I'm just like, I don't have the bandwidth to care about this. This other thing's going on.
So much.
Yeah.
Did you see that a lot of there's an uptick of those people here that are in student loans that they're filing claims for asylum?
Amazing. Well, who would have thunk?
So
like, what the fuck, man? That's why I said on Tom's show the other day that, like, if you think, not the other day, it was like a month ago now or whatever, but if you think
like yesterday.
Yeah, if you think why?
What?
Why does it seem like yesterday?
No, it just seemed like we're just on it.
I don't know.
I made him once change his shirt.
Did you? He's wearing a Bedford shirt?
He was wearing
Nice.
I just showed up.
I'm not a very nice.
He changed his shirt.
Okay, so I need to know, like, where were these people who a month ago were saying that when Mark Miller got on TV and said, yeah, we have to reduce the number of international students. What did I say on this show and on Tom's show? I said all he's going to do is shuffle the deck, right? He's going to play a shell game with the terms that are related to these people and their current status. And, you know, it's not going to actually change the number of people in the country, which is really what needs to happen. The number of people in the country needs to drop. The people who are here on temporary, you know, visas have to be told to go home. India, I'm told constantly by every, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry in the media, is the world's largest democracy. It's a perfectly functioning government. It's this, it's that. Well, then how the fuck can you claim asylum from there then? Go back home when your visa's expired. That's all. That was the deal. You know, like, it's not like we're changing the rules here. Okay. That was the deal. We should just stick to the deal. Whatever backlash you get, who cares? Who cares? What are they going to do? Protest? They'll be in Bangladesh or whatever. It doesn't matter at that point. But you can't stay here and you can't change the rules, claim asylum. I can't remember if I said this on the show, but I'll say it now. Anyone who claims asylum should be immediately deported if they ever go back to that country on a vacation. The original country. If you claim asylum from country X and land in Canada and then go back to country X for a vacation, you're deported. You're not allowed back. That's it.
Wait, so I don't get it. So let's play this out.
Because when you claim asylum, it's like the country you came from is dangerous, right? That's generally the sort of rules of engagement when it comes to those claims. And so if you leave a country because it's too dangerous and then you go to vacation in that country for 2 months in the summertime every year from Canada, like, it's obviously not that dangerous. You can't come back here.
That generally doesn't happen. The only time that would happen is if you become a Canadian citizen. So you come here.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I could play this out for you. So if you come here and you make a claim for asylum, during that claim you can't leave for the most part,
right?
Because you don't have any travel documents. You could apply to Canada for a travel document, but there's very few places that will allow you to go there anywhere.
Yeah.
So you'd have to wait to become a permanent resident. Okay, so you get your permanent residence, and you can't travel back home to where they made a claim for asylum, because at that point, then, you know, what's the fuck? But they can, once they become citizens of Canada, then they are free to fly back to where they came from. Like, but at that point in time, to me, a long period of time has elapsed. So
to me, that's enough. Like, it just doesn't. You're at the point now where something about the rules they have to change. They have to change.
But as a Canadian, you have the right to travel wherever. You can't, like, I could live anywhere.
Maybe I'm being too harsh. I get what you're saying, but, like, I just think that there's so much backlash about all this stuff from, you know, the Indian community and the international student community and you know, the universities and the colleges and the corporations who are using low wage labor to supplement their you know, quarterly reporting. I just don't care. Like, I do not care. All of these things need to burn down, man. All of them. The systems are so broken at this point that, you know, we actually, for the first time ever, went from calling everybody who said these systems were broken a racist to, I think Capello's quoted a survey, 75% of Canadians now have soured on immigration, not soured on permanent residents, not soured on international students, soured on immigration.
Like, was it working better, say, 10 years ago, in your opinion?
It's hard to say. Honestly, I don't know.
I don't think a lot of the problems that we see today, I think that the system was functioning in a much better state when you were allowing in every year 300,000 people
Small
or
number of
so,
people. Yeah.
because it was easier to absorb them.
Yeah.
And they come here, they can find jobs, and they help
Well,
build up the economy.
there should just be rules about like who can come too, Len. Like I've said this before, but if, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, you couldn't just come here with a TikTok video scam and claim asylum at the airport, right? Like you had to come here and show you had income, show you
No,
had
for asylum,
means.
you needed nothing. All you had to do was
Not for
show.
asylum, but to immigrate here, right? Like this was the sort of more standard operating procedure from a place like India, for example, right? How many Indians claimed asylum 10 years ago?
Not many.
And now,
I think it's upticked because
you
there's
know,
a lot more, and they don't want to
well,
go back.
it hasn't just upticked. You know, in the minister's own words, the number is alarming.
Yeah.
So something's got to be done for sure. I don't know.
So
We're not going to figure it out,
the
but
process is they'll be heard. Their asylum case will be heard, and if it's fraudulent or doesn't have it, eventually then they'll be asked to go back. If they don't go back willingly, then they'll be forcibly
removed.
Removed.
Yeah,
and then it's going to be
that's ugly.
whatever.
That's ugly. Yeah,
it is, and then they can't come back at all at that point. Last story. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but in Vancouver, everyone knows the price of homes is so fucking high.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the government of BC is going to try to invest $670 million in this new program. 2,600 new housing units are planned in the Heatherlands in Vancouver, and they're going to be sold at 60% of market value. This is going to be a joint announcement it was a joint announcement by the province, the city, and 3 First Nation communities. And I would like to say their names. Sorry, I'll try it. Squamish is one of them. The other two is hard for me to pronounce, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Sure.
So this is an attainable housing initiative, and so 40% of the financing is going to come from the province. As I mentioned, $670 million. So example, market price of a $620,000 studio unit is going to end up costing the buyer $372,000 in the end. What could go wrong from this? I don't know, but this is one way to make things more affordable. But man, you can't have everybody get it. There's only 2,400 units, 2,600 units in this case.
Let's tie this into the mortgage rule change, right? So
sure,
you got all these things that are pushing on demand, while supply is not just stagnating; it's actually dropping. Right, lower number of starts than 2016 or 17, I think I saw. So like there's two problems. One is that the people who are being quote unquote helped don't seem to understand that the prices of all the things they want to buy are just going to go up. That's one problem, right? And you're seeing that as far as supply and whatnot, including in the story you just mentioned. The thing that really caught my attention though, Len, is that the new benefit for the mortgage rules here. So just the rehash just for people who only listen to the second half of the show. If you are a new buyer of a home, you can get 30-year AM on an uninsured mortgage or an insured mortgage now. And also, if you're buying a new build, you can get 30-year AM on uninsured or insured mortgage. In both cases, the cap for the total cost of the home is $1.5 million.
No, that's the insured part. So that's going to be CMHC insured will be up to 1.5. Previously, it was 1 million.
Right. So the implication for me there, Len, is that there's some portion of the government that thinks that the Canadian starter home costs $1.5 million. What's that? 12 times, 13 times your income?
Way more. I'm not sure how many people are earning a buck and a quarter.
Yeah. So like, what? No one thought that was something we should maybe double check on before we launch this initiative? No, of course not, because there's an election around the corner. That is bad. Like the idea that a Canadian starter home should cost, again, like I said, 12 or 13, because if you're a couple, maybe it's 12 or 13. But if you're single, yeah, you're talking, 30 times probably, right? Something like that. Crazy. And 30-year AM will cost you a bunch more in interest payments. It'll cut into your retirement years. I don't know, buddy. Like, this is why you Bitcoin, right? This is why you don't like real estate is this. I can continue to think it's like a ticking time bomb. And I think a lot of people who have like rental companies and rental properties and student rentals and whatever, like, good for you. Keep the train rolling as long as you can, especially if you're not leveraged up, you know, if you're buying cash or whatever. But the housing market here is about to go into bubble territory that it has never been seen anywhere on the planet. Never.
And how will this be backed? It's going to have to be with some sort.
It's backed by the taxpayer at the end of the day, right?
Yes. And that's going to absolutely wreck the valuation of the Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
And then the price of homes are going to go. I mean, it will drop down tremendously during that initial crash, but then eventually you'll find a floor and then ramp back up because there's going to be a flood of currency that's going to be floating around, and then
there'll be more demand stimulus too, probably, right? Demand stimulus is what you get, is what voters think they want, basically. So anything that helps you with your buying power, that's what you will get. And that's
they'll bail out these people with your TFSA, Joey. that's what's gonna do. So that's what's going to be done. I think we finally come full circle here, and I think that's what's going to be done is people's TFSA, specifically yours.
I can't wait. Oh, my MSTR and Coinbase stock gone.
Yeah, they're going to sell that, liquidate everything.
Gone to a Squamish condo.
So somebody could enjoy living in a shoebox. Remember those Nova Scotia homes, which are like, I forget, the 70 square foot?
Yeah, the trailers or something. Whatever. Yeah.
Fuck, man. Like, you know, now these are both sides of the country. The East Coast with those very tiny units. Now the West Coast for these homes that are going to be partially subsidized up to 40% of financing by the province. You know, whatever. Those are two stories, extreme ends of the country, but it just paints a picture of what the real estate industry is, what's going on right now. And it's
the vibes very important. So high. They're so high. I've never felt better about having Bitcoin. I'll tell you that. Every day I'm more and more glad, because I just think, like, you know, if you're looking at all this stuff and you don't have any, like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I got buddies who still don't have any and think this is a scam. I just think, man, if you only knew how bad it was, you guys, you know,
there are a couple of big events away from being totally wiped out. 2008 was a big event, but it pales in comparison to what happened, say, 4 years ago. And the next one's going to make 2020 look fucking tiny by comparison. And every time we go through this exercise, it just absolutely wrecks the dollar. Come on, let's be honest. The US dollar, it didn't go up and didn't lose value like 10 or 15 or 20%. It lost a heck of a lot more in 4 years' time. Look at the price of homes, the price of cars. Look how much your grocery bill is. That's the real price of how much your dollar has lost.
Yeah, it's a real cost of inflation.
Yeah. So take that for what it's worth. You know, when you're shopping around for that new car and you can't find one for under 40, that's decent. Fuck, before we could buy cars for $7,000, $8,000. I mean, this was 35, 40 years ago, but that's in my lifetime.
Okay, so update here before we go. Dollar index was 106 in April, is now down to 100. So, like, it's like kind of doing a little bit of a bottoming pattern here, but, you know, we'll see.
They're doing near my house an underpass under the train tracks. It's going to cost $250 million to do that, Joey.
Insane.
We used to send people to the moon for that. I mean, now that's a stretch. It wasn't the case, but fuck, we could send people in orbit for that amount. And now we can only build an underpass for that. Eventually, that's going to be, you got to put $250 billion to fucking do the same thing.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Strap in. Go watch Monday Night Football, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night with Carrie Lutz, Financial Survival Network. We're going to be talking about all the things coming down the pipe you should be worried about. Until then, take care of yourselves.
Don't be a cock.